Have you ever wondered what happens when you've sold your business? This week we're talking to Neil Sweeney. In this conversation, we're going to find out Neil's story, learn how he built his first businesses, learn how he sold his businesses, and discuss what is life after exit. Neil is a good friend of mine, so this should make for a cracking episode. I'm James Martin, and this is Entrepreneur Conversations. Hello, Neil. Welcome to the salon, the salon of love.
Hey, good morning.
Your story is interesting because you came straight out of school and got quite a professional job, if you like. How did you pull that off?
Yeah, given my academia,
Crap.
the crap. I managed, but as the master blagger. No, a good friend I was at school with, his dad owned a business called Deadman's Estate Agents, which is
I've heard of Deadman's.
Yeah, really well recognised in Essex in the UK, and so that was, I literally went in as a T-boy runner, photographer. Like, can I just have a job? And that was how it. So that was just my first entrance into then what became 15 years of being in that space.
And this is selling and organising commercial property.
Yeah. So actually, how my first role in that was in auction.
Okay.
And I think the thing with auction is you don't need to be a salesman in auction, because you'll find once the property's on the book, you're just letting people in.
Yeah.
You just let them around the property. This is what it is. There's the details. There's the title. There's any covenants or conditions.
And this is
the bits on the
pre-packaged, isn't it?
Yeah. So started out in auction, running around, letting people in, but the guy who headed up that department said, look, in actual fact, you're probably there's something about you in terms of the sales. Neil, you don't need to sell in auction. Don't sell it to them. They just show them. They'll buy on the day. That's the game with auction, right? So I moved then to commercial property, and that was unknowingly a really, really big foundation for my whole future. That was my university. Yeah.
Because you were rubbing up against people that were way ahead in their entrepreneurial journey, buying these warehouses and office blocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you were sort of seeing the shiny side of their eyes of how they were doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it exposed me to that whole space. Unlike residential, you're not understanding them where they're commercially coming from. In commercial property, what's your ambitions? Where do you want the company to go? Because I needed to obviously take that story to the landlord and say, look, this is going to be great for us. They're looking to expand, take the yard next door and the unit next door and so on. So unknowingly, the conversations I'm having, the shoulders I'm rubbing with, also going out, entertaining, sitting there, just ears open, eyes open, listening, watching, seeing what they're doing, was a fantastic journey for me.
And we speak about this, and I've spoken about this on my socials, that it's like having an apprenticeship within an organisation before you dive in as just let's do loads of scars, trip up and fall. You're at least seeing people's sort of ideas and plans that they were going to do, because they'd be sharing them with you. Knock this wall down, open this up, build something else in the car park.
Well, let's look. A mutual friend of ours, Jimbo, James Sinclair, the great James Sinclair. I remember meeting him. He was in his teenagers. I might have been 19, 20 years old. He's rocked up to what was a 40 or 50,000 square foot unit. He said, right, I want to do play centres. I want to do this and do, and I've watched his journey all the way through that, from him being literally doing kids' parties, looking at his first units with this ambition of what could be, to now what he has created. And that's just a small example of, you're seeing it move and grow. You're seeing their inspiration, what drives them. So I think that really, unknowingly, like I say, it was just a really good footing for me to go, okay.
And we even today, Neil, we have a regular dinner here with Will Polston and myself that host the dinner. That whole community of entrepreneurship, it's something that you need to be around, don't you, to share the problems you might be having, or to share phone numbers and information or updates of what's going on with taxes and stuff like that. So that community still lives, even as older we are now, that we still need to have that space. Because the one thing that I've noticed, and I think for people listening and watching, is that this entrepreneur stuff can be very lonely. Do you think that?
So much.
Do you think that?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be around communities that are like-minded. I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but the learnings that you're having, the shares, all those problems, and because it's so lonely, because you are living in your head 24/7,
and you're making decisions sometimes that you just say, okay, we're going to go a hard left here. Is that correct?
Is that right?
And to be able to just reach out or even put something on a WhatsApp group to ask a question, to highlight, it might be just a second say yes to what you're just thinking to say yes to. You did quite a long time. You were like 15 years, did you tell me?
Yeah. So as I moved through the ranks of that, I then ended up in a sort of a lot more larger regional commercial agent specialist. Again, still in Essex in the UK, but that was a real focus. Just leveled up. I've now got 15 years under my wing. I've got some wing. I've got my contacts. The relationships you build are with their friends and their contacts that were once just clients and or customers. So you just actually live and breathe it as a commercial agent. So
what was the aha moment that, hang on a minute, hold on a minute, wait, hang on a second,
hang on,
they're taking a load of money for this.
Super yacht you've got.
I could do this.
Yeah, I think meeting so many people along that journey, we're all unique, aren't we? We've all got our own unique ability. And for me, a unique ability that I have, which I like to think is a personality, a likeliness, someone that I'm the curiosity and things like that. And so when I'm looking at all these other successful people around me, it literally is, why can't I be that? What makes them so different? In actual fact, they're just in a space and they're just taking aggressive action. They just do it. They're doing it. Yeah. They're just doing it.
And then the opportunity you saw was in, what did you say, was insecurities?
Yeah. So
explain that.
Yeah. So I've always looked at opportunities. Oh, that's a good one. That's a great one. We're never embarked on it, but this particular one came across that I was at a point that I'm looking after private clients. So they're living abroad most of the time, but in Monaco's, Jerseys and so on, but they've got a big portfolio of property around this part of the world. So they're like, Neil, can you just sort the locks out for me? Can you make sure we've got a security company? Just put an alarm in there, just looking after the building whilst it's vacant. So there was a particular company, very large national business, that would come in, put in this little Dalek, this little robot, which was an alarm, wireless alarm, because there's no power in these units. And I would write the checks every month for how much they were charging my then client to have this little Dalek in the center of the warehouse. So obviously I'm seeing this and going, that's interesting. How much are those Daleks to buy? Right. Could I do that?
Right.
So that was the birth of the idea. Around that was inspections, draining the buildings down. So there was a few more kind of facets around it, but the key one was, if I can put that Dalek in that unit and charge you money, is that a win for me? How do I facilitate
because
this?
These big commercial properties, they kind of don't look after themselves, and these owners are quite willing, aren't they? Might be overseas, but they're quite willing to pay an agent and a fee to make sure it's. And where were you? So you're 15 years in. Were you bored with it, or was this just a new chapter? Where did it fall?
What I needed to be the master of my own ship.
Yeah,
that's what I needed. I was never going to make it, and I'd always laugh with the bosses there because we'd have our yearly review. Lovely guys, smart, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyor kind of level. Yeah. I'm not that guy. No. Like I can't read and write particularly well. I know how to read and write, okay, but I'm not that guy to sit and learn and digest and deliver that. So I know I'm never going to be that. And those kind of organisations, if you're going to be up the top, you need to be that.
Yeah, it's a ladder game.
It's a ladder game. So I remember sitting there, and every year we'd do our reviews, and I would make them money because I was a good agent. I was well connected. I'd always be trading, and I'll make you money. But we'd sit and go, right, Neil, what's the 3-year plan? You're going to move an associate? And I said, guys, I love you. I'm never going to be an associate. You know that. I'm not Rick's. I'm never going to be part of that gang. But I'm enjoying it, and it's cool. So what was happening at that point, I knew that the longevity of me in those kind of establishments wasn't going to be the place for me.
Right.
Now I'm seeing lots of different opportunities. And so now I've seen something, I thought I actually could really make that work. I've run the numbers.
And did you find the place that made them or supplied them, this technology?
It was a French manufacturer, reached out to them. They sent an agent down to me, and there was like an aha moment that sat there with this guy. He'd It was in a briefcase. The alarm was in a briefcase. Walked literally out the car into the office, opened it up, got this little camera out, this wireless camera, faced it and said, there it is. Put it back in the case, shut it down, picked up his phone, and now there I am on video for 10 seconds out of a case. And I was like, that's clever. Yeah. Where could I put that camera now that you've just taken it out of your car? He said, well, as long as it's got 4G, you put it anywhere you like. Yeah. In a warehouse, on a boat, on a site, in the middle of a yard, in a lodge, anywhere. And it takes a 10-second video clip and sends it to you.
And we know that technology now, yes, but this was some time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, we are 2010, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's genius. Not many people were even really aware of it in the UK. There was a couple of companies that were going through that. So I was like, right, that's the ticket. Started to then, and I just embarked. I left the business. I had a couple of small little business deals that just gave me a little bit of rent and a bit of revenue. We were renting a house. We didn't have any money at that point as a family. I was renting a little house, and then moved into my in-laws' garage. Yeah. yeah.
See, being an entrepreneur, it's great. Go on.
It's fantastic. Open the door. It's got a roller shutter door and everything. There's a bike rack in the corner. So I remember sitting with Tiffany and said, look, I want to go on this
Tiffany's
journey.
Your wife.
Tiffany's my wife. And I said, I want to go on this journey. But I just can't have any overheads, because that's the biggest thing. People make decisions over fear. And most of the time, most people wouldn't have done that. I'm not blowing in trumpets. It's just the fact. Most would go, really established, well connected. I'm good in my role. I earn a happy living. I'm good, thanks. Where I've gone, no, I think I could do more.
And how old, Neil, are you now?
30.
See, I talk about this, that if you're going to do this entrepreneur thing, you probably need to do it in your early 20s or your late 40s, because the bit in the middle, how's anybody in the family going to agree to that with your mortgage or your rent or your lifestyle or your holidays? You're going to have to really take a step backwards to go forwards, aren't you?
Just take action. Like, just get into it. But definitely, I mean, that's great advice, because the more anchors that you have, and my beautiful children, my beautiful wife and my family, but they're all anchors, aren't they? Yeah. And the more you get, they slow you down and you end up going, I think I'll just stay here. I'm going to keep dragging these along.
The responsibility.
The responsibility of it. So from that point, we moved, and Tiffany was like, okay, cool. So, I mean, we shuttered the doors up, it was heated.
Draft excluder.
Draft excluder and a rug. We lived in that garage with my 3-year-old, and then Tiffany was pregnant as well. We lived in that for some time.
No pressure then with another baby coming.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, nothing to worry about. And then we embarked, and I set off. A good friend of mine that was property related, lives around the corner from here actually, and I said, I just need a desk, just a place, but I just want to get into this. And so in doing that, it was totally smoke and mirrors at that point. The brochure I had, I can even remember my wife, she had a dance business, and my brochure was a makeup. I got all the guys, and I got these high vises, and they were like my staff in theory. And so I created the website and the brochure with what were dancers, but with my high vises, because I just needed people. Oh, look at my team. Look how great we are. My brother had a construction company, and he had 3 vans at that time. And I got magnetic covers to click over his sign that said they're my brand. So then I've got the dancers standing in front of my brother's vans with but in actual fact, on visual, that is Sicuro. That's a team there. Look at them.
And back in the day, that was that common photograph of this is a team.
This is it. Team looking up. Come on, guys, look up at me.
Look up, on a step ladder.
On a step ladder. I created that facade because I had to, primarily because it was security that we're doing. Imagine going to a wealthy individual and go, look, I'm just having a go.
But Neil, this is Richard Branson and a rented aeroplane and a rented office in the Derry and Tom's building on the Kensington High Street. It is smoke and mirrors to start, but you have to start.
You have to start. So that they were kind of some of the nuggets, and then just embarked on the journey. My business partner joined me very early in the journey, over a chicken sandwich, caught up and just.
And how did that go? Because I worry about partnerships. How did that go?
I think there's a really big learning in that he and we were and are fantastic together. Just super lucky, because you can equally have partners that just doesn't fit, and that's more common.
And very difficult skill sets.
Totally different.
Yeah.
He is methodical.
Yeah.
He's the numbers man. He's like the Rain Man of stuff, you know, and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
Everything had schedules. If we're going to, the national insurance, so we got corporation taxes coming down the road. I'm just like, well, you know, for me.
Because, and you won't mind me saying, you know, you are definitely ADHD with the way you hold yourself and the way you look at things and your wonk on things. When I talk to you about stuff, you always come at it from a slightly left field position and exuberance and stuff. And that's very good, but is also not very good because things don't get finished.
Oh God. I mean, it is debilitating in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's things you just don't get. And if you don't get it, you don't want to do it, you just don't. And sadly, some of them are really important. So you need someone that goes, I've got that bat, let me run with it. So Mitch bought in over the sandwich. I said, look, there's no value of the business yet. I had a little bit of revenue, but if I needed a van. So he said, well, I've got a van. I said, well, do you want to buy half the company?
It's a great story. It all starts with the price of a van. It's great.
You've got to start bidding with the price of a van. And that was a little Volkswagen Caddy. I said, great, we need a van. He was a locksmith. Said, decal it, and we will. That's it. Have half the company. Let's go and get it. Every day I'll pick him up. Or he'll pick me up in the van, and we'll go and embarked on our Sicuro journey. Yeah.
Because there's a mini historyette here, because I'd sold a site, an old garden centre, to Red Row Homes, and I'd met you at the dinner, and then I was talking about this site, and he went, "Oh, that's one of our sites. We put all the cameras on there." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, did you see all the cameras?" I said, "Yeah, I did see all the cameras on there. I actually went back to the site to get something I'd left behind."
Yeah.
And this person was, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And I didn't realise these tiny little cameras were all on the site, monitoring the site.
Yeah.
It was great.
As I pop out the bush, get out, get off my
with a big stick. So we're. And what you were telling me, that things grew from that in the way of remedial maintenance. You were getting some of that work as well, weren't you?
Yeah. So again, another learning. We were Mr. Yes. So just yes. Can you do yes? Can you yes?
Yeah,
we just.
do
you know what? I just wherever the work is, I'm all in.
You're just seeing it as revenue.
It's
aren't
just
you?
income. Literally, we've got £2,000 or £3,000 a month coming in at the minute. That's got to feed two families. We've got to fund the vans and get I just whatever you need me to do. So what come of that? The clients that we were working for in that early stage were like, in actual fact, I've got a building. Could you clear it out for me? Yeah, I'll have to clear it out. So right, Mitch, we need to get a low loader or something. And so now we're doing some clearance. And in actual fact, we got some roof repairs. You don't know anyone. I can do that. So it started to kind of take this organic shift to facilities management. I thought it was an opportunity, and it still is very much an opportunity. You know, there's lots of work there, as we know, is as much as you want for repairs and fixings and all that jazz, and there forever will be.
Fiddly though, isn't it?
It's not for me.
No,
this is broke. That's
and it's 24/7. My son does it for the Savills group, does their commercial buildings, and he's out on Sunday, midnight.
It's all
bollard has been
lift
broken,
gates not opening,
windows broken, and it just goes on and on. And with good systems and processes, team, you can do it, and there's good money, but you need to be totally invested in that.
Yes,
and have really good engineers that work
and
for you.
Team.
Because it's so diverse, isn't it? They're doing resin one day and doing a drain the next
fixing
day.
a tile, sorting the lock, and
yeah.
So it kind of started to just take a bit of a turn that we were then doing just a lot of management, facilities work, and maintenance, even more facilities maintenance work, and in doing that, it took a course that I didn't want it to go down. We now had trades. It was a happy little business at that time, million revenue. So it was starting to work. We were starting to live and feed.
And on a million revenue, just for our audience, what would you be retaining out of that in that industry? Type of percentage would you?
I mean, there's quite a high cost to that. It's quite a tight margin in that. So you might retain 15 or 20%.
Yeah, but that's good.
It's fine. It works.
Yeah.
But you are busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work. That's a lot of wibble grommets you're fixing and drainage
to do that,
to create that. So you kind of look at the reward to what that is. Is there an easier route to money?
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and you're alluding to having more recurring revenue from something that's quite you're not having to touch it and mess around too much.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, and so from that, I was away on holiday, lots of problems in it, and I came back and just said to the guys and my business partner, this just isn't me. This isn't for me. I never set out to do it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I can't hang a picture. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we're doing the chimney repairs on a Grade 2 listed hotel. Yeah. When did this start?
Yeah. So with rams and all the technical stuff that goes with scaffolding and everything
exactly.
else. Yeah.
So I said, so it's not for me. But guys, if you want to carry on with that, great. But I just need that small revenue of the alarms part, because that's the area that I want to grow. I want to be the expert, and I think that's a good message there. When you are jack of all, master of none, people see it, and then they're starting to go, do I really trust what you can do and deliver? Because you kind of can do everything.
And the barrier to entry is easy for anybody to come and take that food away from you, isn't it, as well?
And so with that, for me, I want to be the expert in the field. I want to specialize in vacant property and construction, temporary site security. Yeah. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Love for you to join me on it with Mitch, my partner at that time, and some of the team. Have a think about it, let me know. Well, within the next 24 hours, was like, that's what we're going to focus on. So we shut that whole division down. All the maintenance is just really not for us. Yeah,
what, literally rang them up.
We rang them up and said, "Hi, we're off. We're coming off your books. We don't want to be involved in the contract." We shut the gardening contracts down, or gave them to some of the teams that we had. We said, "You can have that work." So we had grounds works. We had, we were doing garden works and maintenance.
And this, I mean, you do consultancy, I do. To sometimes get custom, we look at something and we go, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You need to close that. So that's quite brave, really, because there's a lot of revenue to just turn off, isn't it? So you're turning that off, but then you're putting a load more effort and growing to what you're doing on the security side.
And because of that, an entrepreneur sees shiny things all the time. We're like bloody magpies. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. I mean, I could probably set a business up in the shower on the way to work. Like, two business. It's just what we do. But now it's a distraction. So now you're going, in actual fact, I'm probably spending 70% of my time on something I didn't even want to set out to do. And now I'm in it. And that can become bigger and bigger. Next thing, you're sitting there actually not particularly happy because that wasn't the plan. And it's not where you want it to be. So
where does it fall? Where you're the entrepreneur with the idea that you had back then that made you leave your job, to then becoming the bloody operator, and then where's the middle management, and when does it let you go back to being the entrepreneur? Because there's a time where the entrepreneur's gone. And all you're doing is just sweating inside the thing running it, isn't it? And where's the entrepreneurial sparks? Well, we'll have to come back to that. It's funny time, isn't it? And
very difficult. Yeah. Because you naturally, you want, the buzz that we get. It's the excitement, it's the creation, right? It's it's the people, it's the network, it's putting people, you'll never get that deal across a lot. I did, and I have.
I'm glad you said never. Yeah. That's the best thing to say to me.
Exactly, yeah. I'm pleased you said that. So that's for us is the exciting, isn't it? Yeah. What isn't for me is the methodical, right, here we are, but
Mitch was good, wasn't he?
But Mitch was that, and he was fantastic at that. We, the systems, the processes, and being that guy. But what we also did do was, so when we hit in the earlier days of revenue, say at the earlier point, say it was 500,000, and we had a couple of engineers, so we probably had overheads of 150 grand.
Okay.
Most companies, possibly not most, but many could have sat and gone, I've got quite a good gig here. Yeah. Got a couple of engineers. Me and Mitch play golf twice a week because we both take 150 grand out. Yeah. I think I'll leave it. Now, many possibly would, and some do. Some go, if we did that 500 grand, what would it look like if we did 1 million? What's the first mark look like? So mindset, we were always just keep growing, because I always knew I was going to do the exit. That was always the plan. I never wanted longevity or a legacy business.
And you had that in your mind's eye.
I knew the company I was going to sell it to. Yeah. I knew the company.
See, this is proper gold, people. Yeah. This is gold.
Yeah.
This is the mindset of a real entrepreneur, because when you're creating the shareholding and everything, you should be looking to, who am I selling this business? I knew I was
going to sell it to.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And in doing that, I was approaching their staff and sales team and getting them to come and work for me. And what was bizarre is 10 years later, that whole circle came round. They weren't the actual buyer in the end, but they were on the table and they were offering.
Wow.
So they could have potentially bought that. And yet they were the ones that I first saw and thought, that's interesting. What are you doing?
And Neil, what did it take then from the decision to lose the remedial maintenance to doing that to when you sold it? How long was that process?
The decision of that was probably around so we set up in 2011, that business, and probably 2 years later was when I went, look, let's just focus on one thing and get really good at it. We sold the company in 2021. So it's probably... it's kind of
9 to 10
years of just
of
push
doing
the pump.
I've been in your company a lot, and you talk to your customers that you mentor and look after as well as I do, and I listen to you, and you are very unique sometimes with how you go and get customers. You'll write handwritten letters, won't you?
Yes.
You'll knock on doors, and it's not all about SEO and click ads and all that. You're a bit of a hunter, aren't you, for these customers?
Yeah, I just, for me, is that the world that we're living in it's so easy to click a button. Oh, I've got a million followers. Oh, I've spoken to a million. Ooh, do you know them? Do you really know them? Like, how well do you know them? How well do they know me? How close is that relationship? How sticky is that? So for me, if someone is wanting my work or wanting to work with me, don't just send me a ping a message on LinkedIn. Don't just send an email that I know I'm just one of. Come and find me. And come and sit with me.
They've got to get your attention, but you've got to go and get that new customer's attention. That's what you're saying here. And you've got to be that unique person. I mean, we talk about. It used to be a guy that used to work in doing all our listed building stuff, and he always wore a bow tie. So he became the bow tie guy.
Brilliant. Right? Yeah, that's his brand.
I've become the cap guy. Do you know that? You're the smiley face guy. We always say, "No, Neil Sweeney, with the smiley teeth." So you almost need to become this sort of open book persona that people can very quickly recognize who it is. And I think as entrepreneurs, we don't have any choice than to be this exuberant character.
No, you need to be remembered.
We are selling 24/7. Whether you like it or not.
Sunshine, baby.
But it is, isn't it?
It's true. And so that's part of our tool set.
Yes, it is.
That's part of my kit.
Yeah.
Is really digging deep to client, like would you like to come for a walk? Do you want to come to my house and go for a walk with you?
Yeah, you're
always
good at
doing
that.
That. Come out.
You're good at that.
Spend some real time with me.
You do that walk thing, and Jobs used to do the walk thing, didn't he? Steve Jobs used to do the walk thing. But I think that's great because it allows you to get to know them a bit better, understand where they want to go and how you can facilitate them with your products and what services you do. And for the audience today, this stuff is good stuff, and you need to embrace it. And if you're not doing enough of it, you need to really look at making yourself that character, because you need to be selling all the time. So where are we now? You're coming towards a sale. How do you now implement? Hello, we're for sale. How do you do that?
So we're approaching a point in the business that it's running really well. Great structure, great management,
big
great
turnover
team,
now.
Good revenues, excess of 4 million in revenue. So it's working, it's doing it. And so now we're at a place that, okay, what's our journey look like? Me and my business partner, 10 years in the seat now. Where do we go? What do we want to do? So it was almost a case of we got some advice from Deloitte, and it was, okay, well, what's it worth? What do we need it to look like for it to function? I was quite a key man in the front in terms of the culture with the team, with the sales, and I was a driver there. Mitch was fine. He was the FD. So the partnerships of that were different, albeit both super valuable. But I needed to make sure that I could really become T-boy. So I then worked on the business in the year to get the right structure, which is now something that I mentor and teach. But
so for people watching and listening, so you can not be taken with the business. You need to be able to out of the business.
You've got to, you roughly wear 7 hats in a business, and you just got to end up really wearing none of them. You want to sit on the board, sit at share level. You want to come in and make everyone a cup of tea, give some donuts.
The tea boy analogy is great. I love that. I've not heard that before. It's good. I like that.
And I got to a place, I'd go in on the Monday, have some meetings with everyone, make everyone a cup of tea, grab some Greggs sausage rolls and just check in. Are we good? We're all right? Get my update that I needed, making sure we're hitting the numbers that we needed, because I'm preparing for my exit now. Got to make sure we're hitting to that. We were striking it. And then I took it to market. I didn't have an agent.
Where does Mitch fit in here? Does Mitch go with it or not go with it?
So Mitch goes with it. Yeah, right. Not goes with the business.
No,
sorry, Mitch goes with me. We leave.
Okay.
We were both done on our journey with that.
So that means you've created the systems, processes, and middle management to then be packaged and walk with the technology and everything else.
Yeah. The client base, the portfolio, and all the IP that we created. So I then took it to market. Again, taking action there, not just sort of waiting on an agent or anyone like that. I took it to the market. I knew the key players because it is a very niched space, and knocked on the doors. And I reached out to the then CEO of Bow Watch, who acquired us.
So you got no agent doing this. So you've got no fee there.
No, didn't need it. No, okay. I know the number. Okay. I've done my research on what multiple of the EBITDA needs to be.
Okay.
I know the value. I know what we really need to be for it to work.
Yeah.
And also, look, I was an agent, so there's a great value for being an agent. Yeah. However, if you put whatever you're selling to 5 buyers, it will give you the number.
Yeah, that's true. It will rattle up or rattle down.
Rattle up or rattle down. You'll find the number. So
that's true.
So in doing that, I then went out to the key players and said, there'll be an exciting merger or acquisition opportunity. Hit me up.
And was there a moment, Neil, where you just thought, hang on a minute, should we just keep it? Was that, or were you done?
Do you know? I think that I remember a good friend of mine. We were playing golf and we're talking about, I'm on the exit now. We're having conversations and they're doing due diligence and blah blah blah. And he said, "Why are you selling? Because you earn really well. You're a T-boy. You play golf with me, dude. What is that?" But for me, James, was cash, money in actual. I'd never had that.
No.
We were living, holidays and cars and bits. But there was.
You were out of the garage? Please tell me you're out of the garage.
No, we're in the garage. But what we had done is we had then taken over the house.
Okay. Right.
And the in-laws had moved then into a little cottage down the road because the family had grown.
Okay.
And I said, look, if I can take the house over, and as part of the promise was, because I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah.
That, we've stormed into their house.
Yeah.
They're retired. We've got the kids, the plastic toys are up down the hallways and everything else. Is that once I do what I'm going to do with the business, then I will build a home. I'm going to buy a farm. I got a card written that was in 2017 that to my mother-in-law and said, once we all live together on the farm, it will be. I'm so grateful to have to have you and so on. And I've got that still. So that when they say about a manifestation, it was. I drew it.
Yeah.
And so my thanks to them was to build the cottage of the farm that we're now on.
And do you use manifestation?
Yeah, I do.
This has come up on the pod before.
Honestly, I mean, I know some are all a bit namaste, and I think it's brilliant because if anything, you could interpret it another way. It's a vision, isn't it? It's just a vision.
Yeah.
Do you want to physically look like this?
Yeah.
Do you want your world to look like that? Do you want your relationships? It's just a manifest. It's just you are doing it.
I used to listen right in the early stages of DVDs for help grow yourself. And that was Brian Tracy.
Right.
And Brian Tracy used to do this thing where he used to say, you need to go forward. Visualize yourself in 10 years of where you are, who you are with, what's going on. Take a picture, come all the way back, and then work out how you go from where you are now to that vision. And it was that visualization, manifestate, whatever you want to call it, voodoo. I don't care.
No.
I have done it hundreds of times. I will do it at the beginning of a tough week where I will look up to the sky and say, I can see myself at the end of the week all done, but you might have to hold my hand through this one.
Yeah.
So little Mr. Universe, you might have to help me here.
And And that is exactly it. So it can be bite-sized in chunks as well.
No,
look where we are in Baddow
Park. It hasn't
Park.
got to be Rolls Royce and yacht, has it?
Look at the creation. Look what you've created here. What we're sitting in today. I mean, how long have you owned the Baddow Park now?
About 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 years ago, when you first would have driven down the drive, this was probably a very different looking building and estate. And
a side story. I was a weirdo because we were trying to buy this and it was going on for months.
Right.
So I used to commonly just come here on a Saturday and hang out. Listen, Oliver. I used to tell people could you take your car off the lawn? Don't park on the lawn. Do you mind moving your car? And go to units and say, are these your bins? Well, can you shut the lids and put the rubbish in them and pack them all down because you're going to get rats and stuff like that. People used to go, I have no idea who is this man. But I used to act like I owned the place. What do you think? Will you own the place?
Yeah.
Not yet. In a minute, I will. In a minute. Just wait a minute. I'm just trying to get it over the line.
There you go.
But the energy and the ism of doing that, I'm telling you, it just rushed in.
Right? And it is. So if you look at what I said in the earlier part of the story, is I'd seen the buyer.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've literally got a couple of systems out there on some sites with some clients / friends of mine. I've got a little bit of revenue, and I'm already saying I'm going to build it to that and sell it back to them. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So there is definitely a place for that. Yeah.
And that comes from I don't know. It comes from a place of confidence or insecurity or. When I was really young, Neil, I used to tell people, I've just bought a new Toyota truck. No idea. Don't even know how much they are. Don't even know if I can get finance, whatever. But I put myself so far in the limelight, I had to come up with the goods. Because in a minute, they'd be saying, where's that new Toyota truck?
Who's the owner of that Baddow Park house with the Toyota?
So that's good. And for people watching, that is it's a real thing. It's tangible stuff, isn't it? And it really does work.
Yeah, definitely.
So how was the sale?
Yeah.
This is getting quite exciting now because you didn't sell it to the one that you wanted.
No, I put it to the market.
Okay.
Had really good conversations with 3 or 4. But the actual buyer, I reached out, and then this is again, just taking real action. I'm in France. We both got a love for France.
Yeah, we love
so
France.
I'm down in the Dordogne, and I'm on the riverbank. And Mitch reached out and said, hit this guy up, the CEO of one of the largest security providers in Europe, Bauwatch. I said, okay, cool, CEO. We're lucky enough that we take the summer out, so 6 weeks in France. So this is the earlier part of the journey of our holiday. And I've sent this message, really interesting merger and acquisition opportunity. Here's my mobile, I'll fly and find you. Let's catch up. So I left it very top level, very brief. Nothing came back. About a month later, I thought, I never heard back from that guy. I'll just message him one more time. Quick one-liner. Really it's a really, again, the personal message. You know when they're not or otherwise. Sitting in the river of Dordogne. Do you want to join me? How do we find each other? I need to talk to you about an opportunity in the UK.
And that's so cool to do it in that way.
Yeah.
Hello, this is me from this company. Blah blah blah. No, to do it in that
literally, I'm on the riverbank.
Yeah, that's it. It's cool.
You're on my mind.
Yeah.
Can we get together?
Yeah.
I honestly think it's an opportunity.
And he will see that and go, hang on, who is this guy? I probably need to understand this guy because that's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why. So on LinkedIn or that's why I do videos or photos because you
always video me.
It's me. It's me talking to you. I'm here. I'm present about.
And
this
subject. We have to go. I got to press the button. What's he up to now? What's he want?
I can see it. I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it.
Got to watch. You have to press the button.
And so, long story short, the pandemic landed. Obviously, we know what happened with the pandemic, but for our industry, it flew because all of the businesses, vacant buildings, we need to level up. There's higher levels of crime, thieves, and that still goes on. If anything, it leveled up. So our business increased. We couldn't there was only one place at the time that you could meet, and that was in Sweden. That was the only airport, that was the only place in the country that was open, as it were. Uh-huh. So we both jumped on a plane and we flew out, and I was dressed up ready for a wedding, 3-piece suit. I didn't know what I was getting. I'm meeting the CEO and the CFO of what is one of the largest.
It's very James Bond, isn't it? Like going to one
of the largest, providers in Europe and our industry. And jumped on this plane. And I remember with Mitch thinking, I'm really excited about this. This is, bearing in mind, me and Mitch from a transit van, a caddy from the chicken shop, like not that long ago. It feels like yesterday. Now we're on the plane heading to Sweden to meet with this organisation. And I remember walking through the foyer of this beautiful hotel in Sweden, and he's there. So I clocked him, so obviously his photo. Trainers, T-shirt, cool dude. Like he's just a Dutch cool, hey, it's good to see you. Okay. And there I am dressed up in a wedding outfit. And I just thought I've totally misread the room. But it was great because I met with him. We broke bread. I had all my manual with me, my documents, how we run the company. So I just wanted to have that precious time with him to whites of the eyes. This is the business. This is us. This is it's the real deal in that sense. We sat there and we agreed the deal over chicken and chips. Yeah, right. We did it at the bar. These are the numbers. This is what it looks like. And it was, Neil, if that is what it is, okay.
Because I was with James and we were looking at a couple of businesses to buy, James Sinclair, and we were looking that, when you're buying now, when you're buying businesses, it hasn't always got to be the deal of the century in that you're nicking it.
No.
It sometimes is so much better to buy a business that's got great processes, great middle management, great products, regular income. So you're buying it and you might have to give a bit more money for it, but you don't have to mess around with it so much. And he must have seen that in your tight ship of what you'd created. So there was not a lot of argument on price.
No, it was. And what was great with that is the way that they are, the Dutch, if you agree it, it's the number. Okay. And they were absolutely that.
Right.
There's something that is in the blood for us old blighties. I've got to have a deal. Got to make a. If it is,
and how did the due diligence go? Because sometimes it all changes. Well, you said it was this and it wasn't that, and we couldn't find this, and you said that. So that they try and. I've been in negotiations where the due diligence makes things change.
The chip. Yes, try and find the margin. Where can I get that 10% back? No, we had done work so our contracts were tight that we had with all our clients. We, our stock, our value, our revenue, our forecast, our budget, it's actually a very simple model anyway. We buy something, we rent it out in 7 months, it's bought and paid for. Now we're just spinning it and it's profit. So the margin, the business model was very straightforward,
and you packaged it in a way that was very transparent.
Absolutely. So that's what it is. We know our numbers. That's the multiple. That's how we see it. Do you want to do you want it or not? We're just looking for our next journey. That was it. And so off we embarked on it. Was difficult. That look, when you're selling companies at 7 figures, it's never going to be 2 weeks later the deal's done.
It starts at 75 questions, doesn't it? And you go down the list, and you're looking. There's 5 at the end. There's no answers for.
No, I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer. And if they keep asking me, we're going to have to go, I don't know.
I don't know it. Yeah.
And is that integral to the sale? And you'll find those last few. There was one big question when we were buying here. They couldn't answer it, and in the end, I had to take a view. And that's what you do. And you're so deep in at that stage, views are usually taken, aren't they?
Absolutely. Or there's an indemnity of cover.
Or an indemnity.
There's something that covers your back if it rears its head again.
But you've got to be sturdy through that process.
And it was grueling for Mitch particularly.
Because he would have been the one being fed.
I'm up the show. I'm good now.
How you doing?
I'd already spent the money 3 times over.
Tell us the day, the exciting day where it's all gone through and there will be some money land in your personal bank account.
Yeah.
Did you go to the phone and just check that number?
It's the weirdest experience. Yeah. And I've spoken to this many times with people that have done exits or are looking to. It's just the weirdest experience. It's
anticlimactic.
Absolutely not what you'd ever think it would be. The deal when it was actually done was I was sitting on the end of my daughter's bed on a laptop because they were all downstairs because it's a pandemic at this point, working from home and they're schooling and all of that. And all on screen. We got the lawyers, the legal advisors, the brokers, the owners, the CFOs, the CEOs. I'm here, MD. We're all on there, about 15 of us, all come together. Okay, we're live, we're great, all on the screen. Hey, okay, so it's good news, congratulations, blah, 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 it's all great, and, go and enjoy your time. Okay, guys, thanks.
You just press the button.
That was weird. Felt very, very odd.
Did it? Yeah.
And I remember then rang Mitch, walking up the drive, and we both were, that was weird.
Because it's a complete close of a chapter for you both, isn't it?
You've just spent 10 years building something, and you've just sold it.
Yeah.
You've sold the people in it that built it with you.
Yeah. And you built a big culture with those people, because you're very good at that. You're like me. You do spend a lot of time with your teams as well, don't you?
Yeah, you know, I want everyone on board. I want them to, and the thing is, and even in my new venture, I want people to enjoy it. Like life is so short and so precious. Yeah. You should never be going to work that you don't enjoy what you're doing. You don't enjoy the people that you're with. Yeah. So I built that culture. So I was kind of you're selling it out, mate. Like, yeah, you are. You know, they were, you know, supportive, but there would definitely have been a tone of course, you know, I get that. Okay, we just spent Some of them 7 or 8 years, just spent 7 or 8 years building it, and now. You know, that's the exchange for it. But that's business.
That's what it is.
And some companies owners, they just can't get themselves to, you know, they're like, no, I'm going to stay in it forever. It's a legacy business and I'll trade out. So so at the end of that, made the call. Mitch felt very odd. I remember walking back into the kitchen, gave Tiffany a hug, and I was like, yeah, right. She was like, okay, great. And we had a bottle of champagne in the fridge, and she said, you know, great, do you want to crack it? And I went, I'll just have a cup of tea. I just want to sit in the garden. And it was just a bit emotional, I guess, more so because at that point I was living, and money for me isn't a driver. It's really bizarre. I want nice things. It's nice to have nice things around me, but I mean, I'm just as happy sitting in the doing around a fire with a tinny. Yeah. Yeah. And that cost me about 70p to do. Yes. I'm okay.
I think that is the thing. You get this, and I went through that with the sale of a big piece of property for planning, and I've told this story before, but Neil, I love classic cars, and when I get some money, you know, got some money, went on the hunt for 6 months buying all these cars up, kept going to the garage where I stored all of these cars and look at them and go, oh crikey, is it raining? No, okay, we'll take one out, get in it. Doesn't start because they're vintage, Ollie. They're vintage things that drip oil.
You have no idea what.
And
I'm
not a mechanic, so then I'm phoning people. So it's costing me like £100 to get going on the road.
Could you pop up
Would
the road?
Would you mind? I know it's Sunday, but you know. So all that's going on. And then one day I was over at Goodwood, and I had these lovely, beautiful vintage Mercedes SLs, and I'm in the owners club. Yeah. And I caught myself in the window of a big sort of RV thing that had a reflective glass at the side. I had a flat cap on, talking to an 85-year-old about a light lens that was probably the wrong one in his particular car. I'm thinking, what am I doing in this place? I've just aged overnight. About 25 years.
Moss has just walked by.
But that's what it was like, Neil. Yeah. And I.
Like, is that me? Is that a fit?
And I think I went there, and then closed that chapter and promptly we made quite a bit of money on the sale of the cars. They got gone up in value, luckily. But then I closed that out, and I don't have any of that anymore. No. But you felt that was the it. Yeah. And then really what comes down to it is the it. It was building the business and having the team. I mean, I'm having so much pleasure. Ollie's a new team member here. We have a great team here. We love it. We come here every day. We have so much fun, and we're building great careers for people, stuff like that. You know, there will be exit days down the road, but you know,
it's the creation
is very strange.
It's here. Yeah. It's now, James. It's this.
So
this is the bit.
Where do you? What happens? What's the next thing? So that happened. You have your cup of tea. Yeah. And then what goes through your mind? What happens then?
For me, one of my a key mover of it is I'd never had any real cash. I never really had that ability to make moves. You know, I'd see opportunities, and can't do any more. I'm thick. So I was spent with the journey within that former business, which I was really happy for it to move on, and it's flown great guns, and it's amazing to see that happen. And so for me I wanted to buy my first proper home, which is what we did, and we bought the farm. It's not a working farm, but it's farmland, and built the cottage for my in-laws, which was the repayment for the garage.
So you did all of that sort of your responsibility
of building the home, because you know, when you've got your family and partners and you're like, just stick with me, like it's going to be great. And I'm a dreamer.
This time next year, Rodney.
You know, and me and Mitch would joke about it, you know, that when he's in the car and he's rocking, it's a great scene, isn't it? When he gets in and he goes, are you going to do it or am I? And then, you know, the celebration of it. So I needed to put that right, and which is what I did. Fulfilling, absolutely. Feel like there's a level of grounding with that, but then it's now. But what I did find was the trough for me, because I'd lost all my purpose. And I remember talking to Will. So this is now 6 months later. Got the farm. I'm out there with a wheelbarrow in the piggery, clearing stuff up and sorting stuff. I don't know what I'm doing here on a Wednesday. I'm a 40-year-old man pushing a wheelbarrow around. And yes, there is an amount of money, but that quickly burns. And What's the next thing?
You're talking about Will Polston, and both of us have worked with Will. And Will is more of a life coach. Yeah. And he talks about, he's got a great book out, by the way, North Star. It's a really good read, and you're backing up on this. But North Star, Will Polston, look that up. It's a great book. It's a manual. Yeah, you can go back to it, can't you? And it shows you patterns and how you can live your life, and stewardship for yourself and your responsibilities. And I did probably a year to 18 months work with Will, because that there is a bit of a wilderness thing. What is, and just what you were saying, what is it all about? What's my purpose? Yeah, definitely. So go on, please carry on.
Yeah, and so from that loss of purpose, which I didn't even think was even a thing at that point, because my purpose was young, build, create, do business, my family, get married, have children, build, you know, I'm skipping along. This is life, right? I'm living. And then things are removed. Oh, okay, right. So I don't have the drive's not there to do what I needed to do, because I've got to the goal, I've got the medal. And the people talk about it, don't they? The Olympics and the sports people, that they will achieve a great win, all they've been working for. So I suppose that was a version for me. I'd reached that place. And I remember having those conversations with Will Polston, and he just said, well, what drives you? What's your fire? What really do you enjoy doing? And I'd always enjoyed helping people, conversations, sharing my learns, business, people, just all of that in a big pot, mulched up. I like to be in that. And so what come of that was then my part of what my journey is now, which is helping other companies get a grip, sort their shit out and grow, and actually really know why and where they're going. That's part of what I do now.
And you were telling me in the pre-chat that you triggered very quickly to that by yet again jumping on an aeroplane and going to find out more. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, so there is a book called Traction. Yeah, and the bones of that is, we're entrepreneurs. When we embark and build our business, you now need to, like we spoke about earlier, you need operational things to work. Yeah. You can't be that entrepreneurial dude anymore. No. You've got to get in and actually get things right and get your shit lined up, get it done. And Traction helped me massively. Read the book, and I put certain parts into it that helped me align parts of the business, tracking my numbers, aligning the team, clarity on processes and things like that. So in reading that book, once I then sold the company, so I read that book, implemented a number of the tools, sold the business. So now I'm sitting in the farm going, what am I going to do with my life? And a good friend of mine who was a coach for me said, you do know that book Traction, you know, you put some of them tools in, you do know there's a thing that's behind that. You can be a coach for that and help other companies do it. It's called EOS. I said, I hadn't heard of that.
And what does EOS stand for?
EOS is Entrepreneurial Operating System. Okay. It's an abbreviation. So what that means is many businesses are entrepreneurial, but it's how you operate that business. Yeah. It's a way that we work. So it's not a piece of software. It's how you actually function and grow the company. So I was like, oh, curious again. See something shiny. I want to be that kind of in that space. So inquired about it. I've got time. So I was in this, made a call to the guy who kind of oversees EOS in the UK, rung him up. We kind of tongue in cheek, he said, well, you know, if you signed it today / tomorrow, you could probably get into Dallas, but You wouldn't want to do that because you need to go and do your research and understand it, Neil. You know, there's quite a large franchise fee and there's quite a big expense and commitment around it. You need to go and find out. And I went, no, it feels good.
Plus, you'd already read the book and implemented.
I know the book,
and you knew it did work.
I know what it does. Yeah. I know it enough. I'd spoken to a couple of other implementers. That's what I am. That, you know, what do you do? How do you enjoy the journey? What's your background? Perfect fit. Booked a flight, flew out to Dallas, and that was how and embarked on that whole journey of EOS. Yeah.
And what they actually do, put you through a proper training scheme.
It's a boot camp. I mean, I love the Americans. Yeah. They are great.
I bet they loved you there, maybe a big smiley English face.
But you can imagine. I mean, I used that in Vegas recently, weren't you? I mean, it's just on steroids. Yeah. The energy matches where I want it. I need people around me like that. And it just became real. And I saw it. I was like, this is great. So you are on a week boot camp, learning the trade and mastery of it. There's so much more you need to continue doing, but that's the first base. And then flew back and then set off. And
they back you, don't they? Do they provide customers for you?
No, they don't. No, you've got to find your own client base. So the people that I work, I've got companies all over Europe, Bulgaria, Norway. I was in Iceland last week. Yeah. So, and I've got companies and clients that I work with in UK. So I cover Europe, but they need to be entrepreneurial businesses. So, you know, our target market is 10 to 250 employees. That they want growth. They're not afraid of change, but they're entrepreneurial minded and they've got a leadership team. So, and you know, in terms of, I mean, Crocs, whether you like them or not, I love a Croc. Yeah. I love a Croc. They're footwear Crocs.
I'm too mean. I just buy the rip-off.
The budget. I've got a budget version. They're not as good as the Croc, but Croc run on it. You know, so large organisations can, but ultimately it's entrepreneurial businesses. Right.
And how long have you been doing that?
2 years.
And still there, buzzing with you?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the days. I love the time. I love the people I work with in it.
And you get a bit of travel out of it.
I get travel, as I say, I was flapping around a lagoon last week in Iceland and then spending the day with a client and helping them progress. It's brilliant.
I think when we do consultancy and stuff, the real kicker is that you make a difference for them, and then you can see it.
You can see it.
When you can see it, and that you find aha moments for them, or you can be able to twist for them, or you can be able to give them a telephone number of something that will another contract that will really help them elevate before they go and skip through 10 contractors that are useless, whether it be a lawyer or a solicitor or whatever it might be. But what are you doing? So that's what you're doing there. But you were telling me about other businesses. What else is going on in the Sweeney world? Yeah.
So a total curveball a year, 2 years ago, 18 months back, a part of our dinner, the networking, our gathering, which is fantastic, by the way.
It is, very good.
And
year 4, by the way.
I know. And I only thought it was only a couple of years.
Yeah,
crazy.
Year 4.
That someone that's been I've known for a long time prior to the dinner as well, and high volume school photography, Carmel. It's been her business for 15 years, and she was looking to do an exit. She talked to me about it and said, I'm looking to do an exit. What did you learn? What do I need to look for? What are the pitfalls? I've got some potentially who might be interested to buy it. And gave us some advice. 2 or 3 months later, I said, how are you getting on with the buyer? How's that working? I'm not quite yet. The noises are not making the right noises. And so I just sat with them and said, look, I'd love for us to get around the table and talk about that. Because for me, it's a business that if I can scale, it needs to be able to be scalable. I need to be able to scale something. Because if you get a company, say like an architect's practice, very difficult to scale. Yeah. Because you need great people within that are not great. You need specialists. You need knowledge. You can't just go, I'm just going to, hi, do you want a job? Yeah. Do you want to do some architect practice?
They're high-trained technicians, aren't they?
High-trained surveyors, architects, accountants. So growth with those businesses is by acquisition. Growth within the industry that's in the high volume, school photography is just more schools. So that's better sales, better equipped methods to sell, and just growing a team. So bought the business, 50% of the company 18 months ago. And with the journey of acquiring the other 50%. So by the end of the year, I'd like to think that I own that business entirely, and just continue growing it. Yeah.
And Carmel Jane is someone we both know, a real entrepreneur. I mean, she's all over the place, and she's into everything at the moment. She took a load of time off.
Yeah.
And I think what we just spoke about earlier, she found that, how many games of tennis can you play?
Yeah.
And she's really good at tennis, by the way.
Yeah.
And she's sort of gone back into it with other businesses. But when you look at that business, Neil, have you got that same mindset that you're going to sell that?
Yeah. So what's interesting, so with this business, when I was on the golf course with Sicuro, those moves back, and I was asked, why are you selling that? Like, it pays, it works. Now, I wanted to sell that because I needed to do my next chapter.
Yeah.
And with this business, you always, because it's just how I work, I mean, James says it, end in mind, right?
Yeah,
that's what you say. And that's always been part of my makeup. You're always preparing for exit. You just do it anyway. Why?
Whether you're selling or not.
Selling or not.
It needs to be a polished item at any stage.
Anyway, exactly right. Yeah. I mean, the best analogy I can give, when you're selling your house, it's probably the best it's ever been.
Everything's painted to an inch of its life.
Painted, clean, pathways. I finally fixed that. Can you do the plate? Why didn't we do this before? So it's a perfect analogy of it. Get your business like it and just have it a great place to live.
Yeah.
So I've got great ambitious growth plans within it. We've structured that. We've got processes, systems. So my EOS, which I trained, that's all gone into the business. So aligning that. What is different with this business, James, is my family will be coming into it. So Liliella, my daughter, she's just joined last week. She's left college. She wants to come into photography. So this might have a different connotation in time.
So this could be a revenue for long period into the family.
Yeah. So
that whole thing, what you said there, Neil, about the being ready for sale. I've just gone through a process where I've got rid of some bits and pieces of loans, gone through the process with Handelsbanken, and amalgamated it all into one thing. And the one thing that came out of that was we had everything to our fingertips. When they asked all those questions, and when you're going to sell, they're going to ask all those questions. But if you've got that company on its tippy toes with everything in every file, in every place that it all needs to live at, every ECP, whatever you might need there, you just answer the questions, give them a piece of paper. And we just went through very clean with a nice bill of health because they could see they're not only looking at what the business does, they're looking at the team that run the business and how those bits of paper get delivered to them and in what state of affairs they're in.
And so they're things that you think about, and it should be, you should be preparing for that all the way through that. Because imagine as a buyer, so look at us as buyers, you're trying to find an opportunity to get it cheaper. You see an opportunity, you know you're going to buy, but how do I find where's my chip? Imagine walking into a team and going, oh, hi, so who runs that? I don't know. Who pushes that? Who cleans that? Where's that? And you think, oh, this is perfect. Do you know what? Actual fact, it's not even nowhere near worth your value. So if you show up, this is I've got structure, I've got clarity, I've got processes, I've got data. I mean, I know my shit. I know what I'm doing here.
And those chips are for things that, there was one thing here, they didn't have proper sewage systems. And we realised that there's an expense there, 60 grand's worth of cost. We just slid 200 grand off the price because we just said, well, it's going to cost a load of money. We don't know what's under there. No. So we're looking that you can't answer that and it needs to be done. Couple hundred grand. Yeah. Oh, go on then. Yeah. And that was it. And that's those chips are painful. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And there's so many of them that you are exposed in a business.
Yeah. And how is your photography skills?
I can't hold a camera. Even though we take photos of over 300,000 heads a year.
So if everybody's sick, there's no point in calling you.
If the photographers are off that day. Again, in my previous businesses, I mean, we didn't mention about Urban Life earlier, but that was a business I scaled and built within the middle of Sicuro. Right. But that was a property management company. I never knew management. I never read leases. I never knew the systems that we used. Sicuro, I never knew how to fit the camera. I never knew how they worked. Carmel Jane Photography, I don't know how to hold a camera. I don't know how to edit the photos. That's not who I am. I'm showing up to how we scale it and unite and culture and growth. that's me. I'm for tomorrow building the business.
And you are being asked regularly at the dinner. I see people around you, because you've gone through these journeys of selling and buying businesses. They come to you, don't they? They're wanting to know, how do you do it? What should I look for?
And long may that continue, because the more you're sharing, the more what should I be thinking of? Why? A very common trait is someone that it's the birth of their business. They just can't really let it go. No. They're out on the field again. They're back in the van. They're on that, and you go, look, you've got to make sure you've got the right team. But you've got to move up and out, because otherwise you're going to be forever in it.
They'll lock you in.
You'll be locked in. They'll go, right. I've seen what James is like. I need him in the business for 3 to 5 years.
And I commonly say, and I've said many times, I have no keys for any of the business I have. I've never locked them up. I don't know how it all works. But I'm there. I have great managing directors and team members that do it all. And that's how you've got to have that mentality. And as a fiddler, I fiddle with all these bloody things. Over the last sort of 10 years, I've had to learn to really pull back and allow people their head to just do it. And they might have to make a few mistakes, but you've got to allow them to either grow or fail and go, whichever way you want to look at it. But you've got to let it do it. Otherwise, they'll be relying on you to make the decisions all the time.
And I bet now that you've let and empowered them, I bet they've just run at such a great speed.
And you see more come out of them,
see
and
more
other
that you'll
qualities.
ever do. It's amazing, isn't it? And that's such a big one that you miss. And you think, actually, just let them grow. Obviously, support and motivate them, but let them fly.
So this is where you are with Carmel Jane and what you're doing with that business. And you're going to finish off the acquisition of that in the next year. What other things that you want to do? What else is on your horizon, and what else you're thinking?
I think for this year is just to get this right, to get this straight and get clean with that. So we've got the right funding, the right positioning in the market. The growth plan within that business is by acquisition. Right. That's the best. So we've rejigged the team. We've recruited. We've got a super strong sales team now, and in-house marketing division. So there's things that I've plugged things in.
You're going to buy your way into growth,
and you're going to buy. So there's a place of organic growth. That's one area. On steroids, leveling it up. But buying the growth. And
hard for the finance to buy that type of business or not?
Yes, hard.
Hard.
The reason for that is you don't have contracts with the schools.
Okay.
And you don't really have asset. No. You've got cameras and a printer and printers, but you're not building an asset. So that's where it's more difficult. So they need to, the lender needs to make sure that you've got you've got pedigree in the game of scaling, and you've got asset around you at another end. Yeah,
and that expertise and longevity in that market of what you're in. And when you look down at that market, are there companies that with older owners that you could probably go in and acquire?
Yeah, so people will come out of a business for a number of reasons. The one thing that is always going to be ticking is time. And so for me, when I look at a business, I will actually jump on Companies House and look at who owns it and how old are they.
Yeah, it does tell you that, doesn't it?
It gives you a bit of a message. Only there, just gives you the month and date. But if you've got a business that you are aware of, that there's 2 directors in there, 50% shareholders, and they're both 60 years old, they will be thinking, what does my exit look like? Yeah. And so what I literally do is go and find them and just talk to them. Yeah. What's your exit look like? What's your plan?
And I think that's the quality, isn't it? And I speak, Neil, about people being bothered to follow up. We phoned, they didn't reply. Well, who cares? Phone again. Or pop
talk
round.
To them, find them.
Yeah, find them. And that's what as entrepreneurs, it's our duty to follow up and find those things. Because if you're doing it organically and not through an agent, guess what? You're the only one in the game. There's no competitiveness there, because you're the only one that's actually. I drove past a big storage yard, and I've driven past it for the last 8 years. And once a year I pop in, and I see the guy. Hiya, it's me.
Me again.
He goes, oh, mate, you're the guy that wants to buy the yard. I said, yeah, no, how you doing? And this was last week. My mum's just died, 96. He said, I'm probably going to get round to doing it because I'm inheriting the house, and I think I've had enough of this yard. And that little glimmer
Yeah.
came through.
Yeah.
And he will sell me that yard,
Yeah.
and we will do a deal, because I'm the only one that kept turning up, asking the question, and we'll give him market value, and it's a great yard. Very run down, just up our street. We'll put all the things in to polish it all up and turn it into another little business park. But that's what you've got to do.
And that's what you need to do. And now that is the perfect shining example of an entrepreneur, just seeing something, being consistent, niggling around.
And this is the entrepreneur's conversation, and this is what it's all about. And this is what's so exciting, isn't it? And this is what we get off on, as much as we were like a load of weirdos. Oliver looks on for technology going, he said, I film all this stuff, but they are a bit weird, these guys. Are we doing features, Ollie? What are we doing?
We are. So I asked Neil ahead of time if there was a book that he wanted to recommend. So we're going to go, what are we reading?
Okay. What are you at?
A book.
Do you read or listen?
I probably a bit of both, but listen more.
Okay.
Depends. But do you know what's funny? When you listen, sometimes the voices don't fit right.
Women, American voices. I whine in my ears.
Yeah, for some reason you might have, maybe it's American thing. You
can turn the speed up to change the voice sometimes. If you just skip it up, it does change it.
Yeah, okay. I might need to look to do that. For me, I just think a recommendation that I would always suggest, because it's a really quick book, is Who Moved My Cheese? And it's one that I refer to quite often. If there is something happening in my life, that there is a change happening, and something's just shifting, you can read it in an hour and a half. It's a very metaphorical way of looking, but there's always, I don't know what, it's an incredible book. Millions and millions and millions of this book has been sold, but
Who Moved My Cheese?
Who Moved My Cheese?
Do you know who's by?
No, I'm sorry.
But that will come up. That's the quite an easy thing to find.
But it's really quite simply the backbone to it is about two mice, and there's cheese in this maze, and the story of how the mice move to find the cheese, and then one stays. Oh no, I'm good here. I'm eating the cheese. I'll stay, and it's diminishing. One goes, I'm just going to pop out and have another look, see if there's any more, and how they move. But read it.
Yeah, okay.
Read it. Let me know what you think.
Who Moved My Cheese?
Who Moved My Cheese is a great one, and one that obviously, Traction, because it was so game changing for me.
Yeah.
And that's not a plug. That's not a sell. Just read it or not.
Yeah, Traction.
I think it was game changing for me because I'm an entrepreneur and I need help everywhere. I need help in places, and it helped me scale and exit. It did increase.
What I like about the traction bit, what you said there, is that you and this team is the best bit. You read and implemented. Read and implemented. Yeah. I meet people, they've read every book under the sun, and they're still skint. So what's going on?
Still sitting there that haven't done anything,
and they know
happened.
all of the stuff. Yeah. It's all about being bothered to then implement those things and try them out. It doesn't matter if they don't work, try them. You'll learn by trying them, and you might have to tweak what the book was saying to do. Yeah. And I've been reading, Ollie, Purple Cow. And Purple Cow, I think it's got about 8 different authors in it. Right. And I think it's a book for charity. It's a charity book, Purple Cow, but it's all to do with bringing loads of ideas and chapters of their best bits of all these other books. But it talks about why would you employ a yes man? We want to employ a disruptor. We want to employ a questioner. Right. That you kind of would want that sometimes, to question what you're doing, depending on what roles they're going in. But it's a great book, Purple Cow.
Purple Cow.
Yeah. Right. Now it's good because you've never heard of that, have you? Never. And I've never heard of Who Moved My Cheese.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so they're good.
There's
good
two
books.
learnings.
So look them up. In the comments, tell us what you think and what weird books we've come up with this week. But that's good. What else, Ollie? Anything else? Have we got questions?
The only question that I sort of thought of while you guys were talking, Neil, you spoke about writing letters. Like, is there a secret to sort of approaching customers? Do you have like a specific format? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, great question. I think in the social world that we live in, it's so easy just to ping messages out, isn't it? So I actually, the thought of something, maybe it's the nostalgia. I get the girls to write a postcard to my parents every time we're away.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that? I said, because I know how that will feel when that lands. Hi, Nan. Hi, Grand. Here we are. We're skiing. We're out and we're having we're having cheese, broccoli, whatever tonight. That silly little message, but how impactful that is, and I know that will live definitely on the side on the fridge. So the same vibe and the same feel in terms of if you're writing to someone, that for me to have something written that's handwritten, that is a proper message, not 18 paragraphs long, that's a real direct message, that will have more, in my opinion, more impact than any other post.
Yeah.
You won't not get necessarily the coverage because there's a lot of labour to do there. But if you are where I put in the hunter, not the farmer method, you are really hunting, and it's like a sniper. You're really specific, knocking on the yard every year.
Yeah.
How are you? Do you know what? Can I just actually drop something in? I just wanted to. If there's that little message coming in, then that will land, and it will be much, much more meaningful.
Because we get James Sinclair always talk. He's got a great book, isn't he, about how to get customers. But he talks about lumpy mail as well. So on emails, but they also do lumpy mail. Send a tea bag attached to a letter. Could I have a cup of tea with you? And all these different things. We get a company that empty our septic tanks, and they send a plastic poo through, and it just says, "We're still here. Have you still got that there?" That's all it says.
Brilliant.
And they must have been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years, because on our estate manager's desk, there are all these plastic
there's all these little
poos.
poos. But do you know what? Brilliant, because those little rubber poos, they're all going to sit on his desk collecting.
And it's reminding
so
him
simple.
every day.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Here I am.
And there's that. And I think the email thing, Ollie, as well, I think it's about trying to be as natural as possible on it. What you just said there, I'm sitting here by a river thinking about where we're at with this. I will commonly say, "Hi there. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but it's a bit crap here. Can we find some sunshine in the middle of what we're trying to do?" Or whatever it might be. But just to come up with something that gets their attention. And the handwritten letter, dyslexically, I love the idea. I would struggle to do it, and I think, is it a cheat if I get one of the staff to write it and I sign it? So I don't do that. I'm a great texter, and I will do things, even with you, Ollie. And it might be that we've had quite a busy week, and I might just text you on Friday night. "Thanks for all your help. Sorry I had to leave early and leave you to clear all the gear up on your own. We got loads done this week." Excuse me. I think those messages to the internal team are very good. Or even when you've been with someone, as soon as I've left a meeting, I'll really make sure I text back to say, "It was a great meeting. Thanks for your time today. I'm sure something will come of it. The numbers weren't quite right where we're at, but I think if we work hard together, we could get there." And I think those things are important. It's communication skills, team. You've got to embrace them. And if you don't know enough about them, go on a course. Find someone to help you do it. Neil, thank you for today.
It's been a total pleasure.
You're giving up your valuable time. You should be taking pictures for someone.
It's been a total pleasure. It's been great to be in your company.
You're going to smash that business. And I spoke to Carmel, and she's saying that you're doing great guns with it. She's very pleased with what's going on with it. So awesome. I think you're going to be into the future with another roaring success.
Love that.
And I'm sure there is a lot of people that are going to do this. Where can they find you? How do they hit you up, and how do they find you and all the things that you stand for and you train and do everything? So
best one for me is LinkedIn.
Okay.
As I call it, Linkedy Dinkers. Neil Sweeney, you'll find me in there. EOS and CJP or Carmel J Photography, but just put Neil Sweeney in.
Neil Sweeney.
You'll soon find me in amongst that.
Thank you once again. Thank you.
It's a total pleasure.
If you've enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit those buttons and bells, and make sure you do the subscribe and give us a comment. Let us know what you think of the pods and how we're getting on and how we're delivering the message of entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs conversation. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you on the next one.